All right, hello and welcome back to the Homes Politicast. We have got some stuff for you. The primary is over and the results are in. We're going to discuss them. Also, the Michigan Department of Education says that they don't need to inform parents about their child's pronouns. That's some interesting information there from our Michigan Department of Education. Whitmer is saying things that don't quite add up to her stance on political issues, but that's nothing new. And then finally, we have gotten some flyers here in Ottawa County that we're going to be discussing. Fun stuff. I'm sure you've gotten one of these flyers if you're in Ottawa County. So we'll be going over the Ottawa County extremist myths debunked. All this today on the Homes Politicast. All right, this will indeed, I say this often, I do, but this will indeed be a shorter show because I've gotten a late start here and my wife will be home soon, and I just there's not a lot to talk about other than the election results, some of these extremist myths, and there's a flyer about John Gibbs here too that you may not be able to see quite well because I'm just this little box in the corner. So let's start with the biggest thing. So I've brought you this Substack before, and if you're not subscribed to the Restoring Ottawa Substack, I encourage you to do so. They've got some really good stuff. Well, I say really good stuff. What I mean is they're uncovering some really bad stuff that is going on in our schools, particularly in Grand Haven public schools. But this is a much more widespread problem. This is from the Michigan Department of Education. So, as you can see, she's this lady, Kim Phillips Nope. That should be a big nope to all residents of Michigan. But Kim Phillips Nope is advocating for schools, the idea that schools should not be telling parents about their children's sexual identity, gender confusion. So, in the name of creating safe and supportive schools for LGBTQ plus students, she's got this golden information for you.
We are the Michigan Department of Education's LGBTQ plus students project. We do in-person and online training. We also we worked with the State Board of Education on their statement and guidance on safe and supportive learning environments for LGBTQ plus students. When it comes to sharing names and pronouns, schools are not students have first of all, students have privacy rights. Parents are not. Schools don't have a legal obligation to tell parents that a student goes by a different name and pronouns than is their legal name.
Kids ask to be called a name, we call them the name. I've had teachers ask me recently, because we have parent-teacher conferences coming up, when I'm talking to the parent, do I use the name in Power School? Do I refer to the student by the name I've been calling them in class? Secondary to that, I have had students come to me who are called by their chosen name at school, and then classmates find out that they identify a different way and their parents don't know. So they're panicked, and they have shared with me, my classmates are going to tell my parents. My parents don't know. So I'm just wondering how we can navigate that to keep them safe. Your thoughts on that?
Let's find out.
Yeah, sure. So the first question, I would say, ask your students. Let your students guide that process. So checking in with them to say, hey, student or parent-teacher conferences are coming up. I want to make sure that I'm using the name and pronouns that you want me to use when I'm talking to your parents. Can you let me know how you'd like to do that? And then, as the person leading that conversation, that, when you're with the parents, making sure that you're, that you do what you need to do to make sure that you're not unintentionally outing a student.
So this woman, Lowen Coles, is a counselor from Chippewa Valley School. She is attending this thing, which quite possibly I will have to be attending at some point. This is her LinkedIn profile here. You could see her name, Lowen Coles, as she was talking there. But yeah, so counselor at Chippewa Valley Schools, asking the Department of Education how they can interact with parents during parent-teacher conferences without revealing that the student is going by a different name, different pronouns. So this is, it's not really shocking to me, but it should be deeply disturbing to parents. If you're a parent and you have your child in public school and you're trusting these people to steer your child in the direction that you want them to go, and they are openly, like, this is this is the Department of Education. They're openly saying that, excuse me, just one second, that
to their family.
they want to be keeping this a secret from parents. This is at the, let's see if it says here. I think it does. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, so yeah, this is the LGBTQ student project sponsored by the Michigan Department of Education and Chippewa Valley Schools, engaging in this, trying to figure out how to keep these things secrets from parents. Now, I don't plan on ever sending my child to a state school because I have seen what goes on in public schools just with the students, among the students. There's not enough there's not enough adult guidance, and if this is the caliber of adult guidance we get, then I don't want to trust my children with them at all. So as a parent, that is very deeply disturbing. I would call on our lawmakers, first off, to make this illegal. They did it in Florida. I know the media went bonkers and started saying that we were saying that, you're not allowed to say the word gay in school. But it was a 7-page bill. You can read it. They were not doing anything of the sort. They made it illegal for schools to keep gender identity information from parents. They removed funding from schools that were going to manipulate children without their parents' permission. So that is just one of the crazier things that I found from this Substack, Restore Ottawa. It's actually Restoring Ottawa in the Substack. The Twitter is Restore Ottawa. You can follow them. Here it is, Restore Ottawa. And they've used a couple of my interviews from Matt Fensky, Greg DeYoung, people like that. But, I'm getting potential spam. But they're a really good Substack. It's concerned parents writing about what's going on in specifically, like I said, Grand Haven area public schools. And it's good. Like I said, they've got good stuff. I've been reading them quite often. They source their things very well, as we will see in their next article. So they've been getting a lot of FOIA requests, or they've been making a lot of FOIA requests, because really that's the only way to get openness from our schools about what's going on. So another Substack from Restoring Ottawa, GHAPS employees leveraged their positions in support of an external anti-racism task force. So, if you've followed me, if you listen to me for any amount of time, excuse me, you know that these anti-racism task forces are generally just avenues for critical race theory to get into the community, into the schools, be influencing our children, and it concerns a lot of parents that we're teaching our children that white people are the source of all evil, that we are implicit in racism because we're upholding institutions that result in the oppression of blacks and Hispanics and people of color. Now, they get to this idea because black people, on average, tend to do worse in the United States. And a lot of that, even the Brookings Institute admits that to be successful in the United States, you need parents that care about you. That is the biggest factor. Parents that will stay together and raise a child. That is the biggest factor in whether or not a child succeeds. It's not a skin color. It's not anything else. But these anti-racist people want to convince children that it's because of skin color, that people are downtrodden, they're disadvantaged, they just can't succeed in America. And that's because of our institutions. Our court systems are very racist because black people get picked up for crimes more. Well, 2 seconds of thought says, well, if they're getting picked up for crimes more, does that mean they're committing more crime? Yes, it does. It does mean that they're committing more crime. The people that aren't committing crimes are generally left alone. There is one instance in the past few years that maybe a black person that wasn't committing a crime suffered very severe consequences from the police for doing nothing. Possibly that was Breonna Taylor. Maybe. She may have also been dating a drug dealer, and he may have been operating out of her house, and that's all things that I have looked into. We're not the police have not released anything confirming that he was a drug dealer, but that's who they were investigating, was her boyfriend. So even in that instance, it's not clear that our institutions are unfairly targeting black people. Does a black person maybe get pulled over more? I don't know, maybe. I've gotten pulled over quite a few times. Does that not count for anything? But regardless, the idea that white people are complicit in racism because we follow laws and we make laws and we enforce those laws is ridiculous. And that's what the Anti-Racism Task Force is trying to do. They want lawlessness because people that are confused and that are in chaos are much easier to control. So we begin this article. The Anti-Racism Task Force at the Momentum Center holds monthly town hall meetings with the noble goal of reducing racism in our community. It is a nonprofit organization supported by the work of volunteers. As Americans, we are free to spend our time working and volunteering for any organization that we choose. If, however, we are directed by our employer to be a liaison to an organization, then it is our employer who pays us for the time spent working on projects related to the partnering organization. The partnership makes sense when the goals are mutual. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that the Momentum Center has noble goals. That's very kind of this author to say. It may be a little tongue-in-cheek, but we continue. Grand Haven Area Public Schools has partnered with the Anti-Racism Task Force at the Momentum Center. I do not believe that these two organizations have mutual goals, but rather individuals within GHAPS share the goals or the ideology of the Momentum Center Anti-Racism Task Force and have found a way to implement their goals in a way that is taxpayer funded. In addition, they have leveraged their position within the school to pursue personal, agenda-driven political goals. The following emails will explain how the relationship works. In August 2020, the Anti-Racism Task Force at the Momentum Center initiated forming a partnership with Grand Haven Area Public Schools. GHAPS eagerly supported the partnership. Now, this email is from Barbara Lee Van Horsen, someone who declined to interview with me. She did not want to talk about what she does and how she operates. And it is to a woman named, to Andy Engel and Jenna Vipond. CC'd is Mary Jane Evink and Brian Wheeler, who Brian Wheeler was the guy that embezzled millions of dollars out of Grand Haven Public School. So that's the kind of the caliber of the people that they're working with. Mary Jane Evink, as Restore Ottawa has reported, is very left-wing and is not afraid at all to use her influence to support left-wing ideology. So let's see, we start. So we start from Andy Engvall. Hi, Barbara. Thank you for the email and invite to participate. Truly important work. In talking with our team, we would like to offer Mary Jane Evink and Brian Wheeler as official members of the task force. That's a great person to be on the Anti-Racism Task Force, Brian Wheeler. Mary Jane would be the person who would try to be present for the meetings, and Brian would stay connected through minute or other updates and fill in for Mary Jane when/if possible. Oh, look at this. Here's the original. So they have the original at the bottom, obviously, the response in the middle, and the reply from Barbara at the top. Let's see. We also have another message from Barbara talking about preliminary meetings and trying to get together with these people. So we continue with the article. Key individuals involved in the partnership formed a productive working relationship right from the start. For example, GHAPS has facilitated questions during the town hall meetings, typed up notes for town hall meetings, helped to plan events such as the DIE Expo, which I would assume is diversity, inclusion, and equity, provided teachers with books, suggestions, and resources recommended by the Anti-Racism Task Force, coordinated speakers for the Anti-Racism Task Force monthly town halls, provided members with invites to GHAPS budgeting meetings, and even worked with the Momentum Center to find potential GHAPS school board candidates. Here are some emails documenting this work, and this is why I love Restore Ottawa. Like I said, they've got the FOIA, they've got the emails to back up what they're saying. They've got, Jared Kramer is available and willing to speak at town hall about race and religion. He writes, I'd be willing to share for about 10 to 12 minutes on the historic complicity of the American church with racism. That's something I'm pretty passionate about. So the American church is complicit in racism. Oh my goodness. How dreadful. We continue with the article. In the following email, GHAPS Curriculum Director Mary Jane Evink summarizes a recent town hall meeting and suggests inviting Calvin Terrell to speak at a future meeting. So they've got a link for Calvin Terrell, and we're just going to open that up and see. Calvin Terrell, let's see. Excuse the dead air. I know dead air is awful for radio. Let's see. Oh, okay. So in the following video, Calvin begins to speak at 4-minute and 45-second mark with his version of American history, which, although contains some truth, is spun to teach that America is a nation built on racism. He says we have never been a moral society. We have been a society of law and order, and that order is us sustaining white dominance. At 11 minutes and 15 seconds, Calvin says white supremacy stands on two legs: anti-indigeneity and anti-blackness. Until we address the anti-indigenous aspect of schooling and the anti-blackness aspect of schooling, nothing will change. So he's quite a racist person, accusing white people of many things. They offered to have him speak at their Momentum Center or recent town hall meeting. So there's just more emails. The emails continue. I'm not going to read all the emails. You can come and you can check this out on the Restore Ottawa Substack. In the next email, GHAPS Curriculum Director discusses inviting students to speak at a future town hall. Inviting students to speak at a future town hall. Now, this is quite consistent with leftism in general. We get the teenager from Sweden to address climate change and scare the heck out of everybody and be very angry. The curriculum director references Calvin Terrell and his Call to Warrior training, in which select students were invited to attend. So yes, these people are using their influence to take students, to coach them, to send them back into the schools, to be little disciples for their religious worldview. In this final email, the Anti-Racism Task Force experimenter includes GHAPS in planning speakers for another town hall. As evidenced by these emails, GHAPS and the emails are here. They put up, so you can't say they're lying. As evidenced by these emails, GHAPS employees have spent many hours, both during and after work, and after school, working on Momentum Center initiatives. The problem is not so much that these individuals have chosen to volunteer their free time working for a nonprofit organization, but rather as a paid member of the GHAPS staff, these individuals have leveraged their positions to support Momentum Center initiatives. That is the problem, isn't it? The Anti-Racism Task Force has a clear political agenda. While some people in the community support their agenda, others do not. Do the Grand Haven taxpayers realize that their tax dollars are supporting the Anti-Racism Task Force through this partnership? How is this working relationship acceptable? Are there any limitations to the number of hours GHAPS employees can spend working on initiatives for nonprofit organizations during schools? GHAPS personnel have access to students, student records, and control over the selection of student learning material. Is it really acceptable to use a position of influence to further the goals of an outside organization? And they put up once again with GHAPS policies. Policy 1103 is a conflict of interest. Policy 2240, controversial issues. Policy 3231, outside activities of staff. So, Restoring Ottawa has once again exposed GHAPS personnel for really unacceptable things. I mean, this is not something that I don't think Grand Haven should accept at all. Mary Jane Evink should not be working at Grand Haven Public Schools. Brian Wheeler is no longer working at Grand Haven Public Schools. That was mostly for his felony and embezzlement. Yes, I am drinking apple juice. Nice cold drink of apple juice. It was hotter than heck at work today. Need to rehydrate with some good, delicious juice. All right, so Grand Haven, that is the situation at Grand Haven Area Public Schools. The rest of Ottawa County, you think you're immune to that? You're definitely not. I believe that the DE&I office, which will soon be out of commission, has been working with the Ottawa County employees for quite a long time. So, or for at least the last 5 years or so. They were formed in 2018, 4 years. So, if you think that your area is immune to this, it is certainly not. It is happening right in your backyard. So, that is why actually these are kind of important. Ottawa County election results have come in. I don't know why it says unofficial result summary. Yeah, I don't know why it says unofficial result summary, because they're official now. Well, I guess there's always the possibility of a recount, but um, I doubt that Ryan Kelly's. I mean, even if we get a recount, he's not going to win. He was so far down the list. So what is important is Tudor Dixon won the. All right, so number one, all the polls were wrong. All the polls had Garrett Soldano tied for third place, I think, with Ryan Kelly. He got 25.1% of the vote. That is insane. I did not expect him to do that well. He did awesome. Tudor Dixon won with about 7,000 more votes, which is not surprising. She was endorsed by Trump. But, man, Soldano did great. So, Tudor Dixon is going to be facing off against Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Another very interesting result. So Tom Norton didn't get his position, but John Gibbs did. He won over Peter Meyer by about 3,000 votes, about 2,000 votes, which I'm kind of astonished by. Congratulations to Mr. Gibbs. It may have been a result of Democrats backing him or running ads saying that he was too extreme for Michigan. That may have prompted voters to get out and vote for him. Now, Ben Shapiro, who is a brilliant political mind, he is under the impression that John Gibbs is not going to be able to beat Hillary Scholten. We'll see in the general election. I kind of tend to agree with him, although I was backing Gibbs. I'm just not going to vote for Peter Meyer. I'm not going to support candidates that work contrary to Republican interests. Even if they say they're a Republican, even if they vote for low taxes, if they're not going to stand up and defend Republican interests, then they shouldn't be our representative. Let a Democrat do it. And that's an unpopular opinion. If you're very passionate about the issues and you say, well, at least Peter Meyer wouldn't have gone along with all the Democrat things. Well, it seems like more and more he was going along with the Democrats. He voted to impeach Trump. He voted to change the definition of marriage at a federal level. Peter Meyer was not our man. He may have stemmed the bleeding slightly, but he was not doing anything to stop this avalanche of Democrat overreach. So Peter Meyer is out. We'll see how John Gibbs fares. I'm hoping to speak to him at some point. I would love to speak to him. Luke Meerman, of course, he ran unopposed. He will be running against Sharon McConnon. I don't think she has a chance because he is in a very Republican district. There's a few other representatives in state legislature in Ottawa County. You can go ahead and you can look at your own county. Let's see. This is the important part. So county commissioner, Republican position. So Gretchen Cosby is an Ottawa Impact person. Beat out Frank Garcia. There's a Democrat running that got almost as many votes in the primaries as Frank Garcia. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see how that goes. Joe Spalding running for county commissioner in the 2nd District against Lucy Ebel. He got almost as many votes. So if these seats flip, that would really be unfortunate. We've got a Republican running against Doug Zylstra, and he got more votes. Again, so these are significant because they were running unopposed, and this is how many votes they got. We'll see how that changes in the general. But there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commissioner spots that are uncontested, just about. Allison Miedema destroyed Matt Fensky, who I talked to. Nice enough guy, totally ignorant of what's happening in politics, totally ignorant of what the left is trying to slide into our political scene, especially through the DE&I office. So Allison Miedema is going to be our 11th district representative. Roger Bergman beat out Shepard Kelly, who was the nominee from Ottawa Impact. So Roger Bergman is a big kind of L, but he's going to be facing off against Doug Van Bennekelm. I have no idea how to say that. Roger Belknap won his race against Phil Kyers over in Grand Haven. Greg DeYoung was destroyed by Sylvia Rhodey, 71% to 29%. Let's see. Rebecca Curran beat Gregory Steginga. That is a really hard name to say. 60 to 40. I wouldn't call that a destruction, but it's pretty good. Kyle Terpstra, of course, he ran unopposed. Randy Meppelink was dominated by Joe Moss. So we are going to have a flip in what's going on. And Bonema defeated Dannenberg. So the county commissioner spot is going to look a lot different. The county commissioner's decisions are going to look a heck of a lot different because we now have a bunch of county commissioners that aren't aware of what's going on with the critical race theory stuff, what's going on with DE&I offices in general, and specifically with our DE&I office. So, which brings me to an interesting point. Our DEI office director said that she could not speak to a journalist that was not state trained because I wouldn't be able to uphold journalistic ethics or whatever. So that's probably not going to happen. Maybe I'll have an interview with her still. Maybe not. She's still on the Ottawa ISD, Ottawa ISD. It's basically the county school board. So she's still going to be running that, along with a couple of other questionable people, John Seaman. So she may not be influencing our county as DEI officer, but she'll still have reach into our community and especially into the lives of our children. So those are all the important things that I wanted to get to. And then just one more tidbit from Whitmer just before we go. Whitmer says that, you know what, I'll pull it up because it's an interesting statement. Let's see if I get to Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I'll show you what I'm doing here. So she said, like most Michiganders, I was brought up to work hard. Strong arm emoji. My first job was at Burlingame Lumber. Hammer emoji. My goodness. Emojis need to go away. All right. Today as governor, I love serving the people of Michigan, and of course my best job is being a mom. In honor of Jobs Week, share your first job below. So, of course, the best job is to be a mother. That's something that I would advocate all day, every day. Women are going to be fulfilled through being a mother. They're not going to be fulfilled from working at a widget shop for their overbearing boss. That's not going to fulfill them. They're not fulfilled by their jobs in the same way men are. They are fulfilled by family, by connections, by love, and by showing that love in building a home. Now, Governor Gretchen Whitmer may say that the best job is being a mom, but she is fighting like hell, in her own words, to make sure that mothers can kill their children, to make sure that it is very, very, very expensive to adopt a child. She's not done anything to bring down the cost. So her statement that, being the mom is the best job is totally at odds with her political stance. And why is that? I don't have the answer. I think maybe it's because she puts her party over her own beliefs, but that's just me. Democrats do have this sort of cult where you kind of have to toe the party line, and so that may be it. So we've come to the end of our time together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching once again. I want to send out a special shout out to Restore Ottawa. Thank you guys for all you do in reporting, very well documenting what is going on in our public schools. I will be sharing what is going on with the training of our teachers throughout this next year. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. Stay tuned for all of that, because that is all going to be released. You are going to see exactly what teachers, what counselors, and what administrators are being trained to do in regards to your children. And with all that, I want to, I'm just going to go. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and you guys have a great day, great weekend, and I'll see you next week.